Hey, so this extended tutorial is for those who really want to do the effect and just need a little bit more explanation and detail. Alright, so we're going to start with setting up the ocean. To do that, we're just going to have a plane. I'm going to add an ocean modifier right here, and you can see we already have like this ocean effect. As I've said, like the important thing to keep in mind is scale when doing this. So you always want to like go to item, check the dimensions of this, of like how big is this thing, and work your way from there. Spatial size is like also a little bit important because it goes a long way in creating that effect. Yeah, something like that. And right now the resolution is really low, like I said. I mean, we could even preview it at like 15. You can see we have like a bunch more detail and stuff. And render, we can put it at like 30. The thing is, right now though, like the normal of the ocean is facing upwards, right? And if we're creating an underwater shot, it's like it'll be facing downwards. And as you can see, it's like the underside of this ocean modifier thing looks like really bubbly and weird. And I'm not sure if that's how it actually works in like real life, but I'm not really too familiar with it, but I'm more used to this one. So what I did is I'll just like flip this over, and then I don't know, it just creates something a little bit more familiar, but who knows. So I think this looks good enough. If you want to repeat the ocean, you can go like 2 and bring it back in the center. This also solves our like normal issue, but yeah, you can see we have something good. Okay, so let's preview this in color. So we're gonna have to set up an HDRI first. All right, added out HDRI. It's a nice HDRI from Polyhaven. They have really cool HDRIs. We're gonna keep that at 1 for now. We're gonna keep the strength at 1 for now, but we'll see how that affects things. Okay, so I like to just pull up the shader editor from the down below now instead of just switching to the shading tab, just because I find it much like more convenient and it's working faster when it's like right here. I'll just like slide it back down if I need to. All right, so we're just gonna call this ocean. Add a refraction shader. And you can see we're already getting like some sort of result. Now, the standard IOR, which is like the index of refraction, how like light bends through a medium. For water, it's a specific value, and it's a specific value for everything. So if I decrease this to like 1, so you can basically see it's like transparent because it's like acting as air, right? Okay, it's making me confused a little bit too because we can't see it, but water is actually 1.33. That is like water's refraction. As you can see from the top, it looks weird because like the normals are inverted, but from the below it looks fine. But I think depending on the artistic effect, if you find it like it still looks kind of weird or like not distorted enough, or you'd like to like, exaggerate effect, then you can like increase it to like 1.4 and like have it like really warbly and stuff. There's also like this roughness value, which like if you turn it up, you can it kind of looks like water too. It kind of softens everything up, and maybe that's the effect you're looking for. But I don't recommend it too much because by the time we have volumetrics and stuff, it really just kind of blurs it out. So I recommend just keeping it sharp for now. But yeah, I'm just gonna add in my shark model real quick. So I actually used this free shark model found on Sketchfab. It's made by like a studio that goes around modeling like realistic sharks. It's really cool. And the thing is like they're all animated and everything, so it's actually pretty useful. But like the good thing is that we can use this as a reference for scale too. Now I'm just creating an example scene with a shark, but you can use it in any scene. As you can see, it appears kind of small. You can like select the shark like and like check the scale, right? Okay, that's X, right? Okay, so it's 1 meter right now. And I think that's basically right. It's supposed to be here. So now that we know this scale, we know that this kind of ocean is kind of like too big right now. So we can just like scale that down. Something like that. I mean, we're creating a section of the ocean. We're not gonna simulate the entire ocean. We just want to create an effect where like if we set up a camera and we look up, we're gonna have like this sort of like parallax effect in the water. Okay. Yeah, and you can like start to preview around. I'm just gonna rotate this 90 degrees. And you can see it's like we're getting somewhere. It's sort of working. Also, okay, right now the ocean is still acting as a like a plane basically. Even with the refraction shader, it's going to be blocking a lot of light, and we don't really want Blender not to have a lot of light. We want it to have a lot, like as much light as possible when like rendering, so it just like makes everything faster. So we're actually gonna go to visibility and disable shadow. There's not gonna be any effect now, but like if we like we're gonna add in a sun right here. Angle it to the side or something. For the sun, you're actually gonna have to like choose a really high value. Normally like 1 would be fine, right, for normal scenes, but since we're underwater with like really heavy volumetrics, you really need to simulate like really strong suns. So anywhere from 30 to 100 I found was like good. So like we'll even go like 40 right now. But you'll be able to see that like the shadow of the ocean really like affects the sun. So like we want the sun to pass through, you know, and like have like this nice effect, and our effect still looks nice. Okay, so the problem right now is we still have an entire HDRI lighting our scene from below, and that's not really realistic. So we're gonna create like a little UV sphere, right? Gonna X-ray side here. Select the faces like here, and just delete them. You know, also gonna create the material for this. Make it like bluish and really dark. Like we want to simulate like a really dark blue, not entirely black, because like having some backlighting might actually help light our scene. And you can play with the specular to really like, I'll just minimize it actually. Metallic also makes it like reflective. It depends on the situation. Let's set up our camera right now. Camera, do that. We go in, we're starting to get a result, and you can see like that like blue dome creates this kind of like underwater like lighting effect, which is kind of cool. We're just gonna reduce the focal length right away and zoom up, just so that we don't have like that volumetric density in front of our camera later. It's just like it works easier, but you do you. You can see right now that the ocean plane kind of like stops a second, and you can repeat that over and over, but like most of the volumetric is going to cover the edges, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, so we basically have this like setup right here. We have like our ocean refraction. Oh yeah, also like when we want the ocean to like animate, right, if we're doing an animation, we're going to be keyframing the time value, obviously. So if we keyframe this one here, go to 250, I found a 1 to 9 already makes it really sensitive to changes. So you're just gonna have to play around. You're gonna have to be careful with the playback. One thing you can do to kind of like increase the FPS while you're playbacking is go to playback, play every frame, and change it to frame dropping. That way Blender will like, okay, I can frame drop a couple of frames just so that I can like keep the FPS consistent. Sometimes it's just sometimes it's accurate and sometimes it's not. Okay, right now the keyframes aren't linear, which means it's like starting slow and then going fast and then like ending slow again. Okay, so to fix that, we just press V, press vector. So now it's like consistently changing, and now we can see that it's like, okay, well maybe it's like a little bit fast. There you go. Okay, that's like sort of the effect I kind of want, right? I mean, might as well just animate this as well. Location, go to the end, like 3 seconds. Just keyframe it there. End it at 100 as well. We also want to put this at vector. So let's set up the volumetrics. So we basically have everything except volumetrics and cosmic particles. So we can set up a cube. It's going to be hard to see what's going on. You don't even need to have it that tall, because like depending on the camera's view, but like a small volumetric setup like this will work already, just depending on like your camera angle and what it's looking at. Let's set up the volumetric real quick. I'm just going to call it fog. I always call volumetrics fog just so because I associate it with like fogs and stuff. So I'm going to add in principled volume. change this to blue. I mean, this is just depending on your artistic effect. There's a lot of like minty oceans. There's a lot of like light oceans. Like not all oceans are like really foggy and heavy, but for my particular effect with like the research I've done. Okay, so in this case, the scale might be different, but 0.8 density seems to 0.7, 0.8 density seems to do the effect. It just depends on the scene, I guess. I've done this a lot of times. It can literally just vary. Also, I found out that turning up anisotropy like kind of like emulates that effect where like it's like light at the top, and then like as you go deeper, like the light really kind of fades out and stuff. And if you go too much, it's like completely back. So 0.7 seems to work decently well, and you can see we have like this sort of effect and stuff. Ocean plane might be too close right now, so if we just put that like back up, it should be fine. And you know, you can still mess around with the roughness and stuff. If you do it too much, you kind of lose the effect, but feel free to play around. Yeah, and you know, we have a little underwater scene, you know, you can get creative and play with camera shots. Cameras are really slow underwater. You have to look at a lot of reference. They don't shake much, you know, they're really slow. All the movements are slow. Let's set up our caustics. So if you've seen the tutorial, you know that like I've basically got the idea from Polyford with his tutorial on how he manages to emulate like a caustic setup without actually simulating caustics. So if we just take like this normal plane, we're gonna turn the HDRI to 1 just so we get nothing, right? Gonna bring in the Voronoi, right? Put a mix RGB to set the difference. Put distance in here, and that's 1. We're also gonna turn this to 4D right away. Turn both to 4D and turn both to smooth, because that's where the caustic effect comes from. So right now it's full black again. So it's by changing the smoothness that you get that. So we're gonna just control both with a value, but obviously we'll still need to change one. So we'll add a math node, change this to 0.5, and then we'll slowly like bring this value. Also, we're just gonna create another value for the scales, and then like, you know, bring this up until we get like a realistic scale. It's kind of like scary. It's like that fear of like trypophobia where like it has holes, but whatever. Put an emission and then brighten it up, you know, brighten it up a lot. And yeah, this is like sort of the effect. And there's still a lot of things like the randomness. You can change, you can see how it works. Okay, let's say that's good, right? Okay, we like this setup, so what we're gonna do is we're just gonna copy it all the way up to emission. Now we're gonna create a spotlight, right? We can disable this now and create a new plane just to test it out, right? We're gonna create this like this is gonna be a normal material. We're gonna increase the spotlight strength. I mean, we can even go like, you know, 10,000, because the real scene, it's gonna be like heavy. You need a lot of light to like, pass through. Okay, let's say we're happy with that. You can see that like we can enable nodes for lights. I didn't even know that, but enable nodes, paste in our setup, control back the emission, and we'll need to set up some texture coordinates and mapping, and connect the normals and stuff to the vectors, and then you'll have your effect, but not quite yet actually. Right now it's like really blurry. That's because the radius is, so we just have to decrease the radius, and now we have this effect. And like wherever the light is, it has this caustic effect. It might not work for every scene, but like for what we're going for, it's like it's totally gonna do the job, you know. So delete this plane now. Now we know it's working. I'm gonna disable the rendering for that as well, and yeah, we'll mess around with it. You can see this is the spotlight. We have like now we're starting to see like some of this caustic effect, you know. And you can like, I don't know where you put it, but put it near the surface. The emission strength also like controls like the strength of the caustic and stuff like that. And also you have the sun right now, which is like obviously lighting it again. But if we were to turn this to 0, you'll see the caustic much better, and you'll see like the caustic automatically generates these like beautiful God rays, because it's like a 3-dimensional caustic system, right? Where like it's influencing the certain parts of light that are like beaming. So it's really cool. Maybe this can like be useful for like a deep underwater shot or something, but right now we're just gonna have the sun back up, and yeah, we have a caustic. You know, you can still go to the spotlight and change the like scales of the caustic until you get something much more like that's resembling a caustic. Oh, now we're having something really good. Oh yeah, we have to turn back up the HDRI. If you don't have an HDRI, you can basically just create this like really cool like deep underwater shot basically with no surface for that effect. But if you want a surface, you know, you put that and then you have this surface. It just depends on the scene. Get creative with it. It's just been experimenting and stuff. Finally, we're just gonna set up like a particle system real quick. That's just done with like a cube, right? A cube within a cube, huh? Interesting. We'll just disable the fog for now. Create a particle system. We're just gonna give it a transparent shader immediately because we don't want to see any cube. Actually, we just want the particle system, and we're gonna change the viewport display. We're gonna change the viewport display to bound so we can see like the insides of it and like what we're working with. We can make this pretty big. We're gonna add a particle system emitter. You can control this. You want to make sure you add like the first frame, and change n to 1, so like all spawns in at the first frame. And the lifetime we'll just make it like 300, just so it's like out of the scene. And it's right now you can see it's just like it spawns in and it falls, and that's because we need to go to the field weights and turn off gravity and all. And actually for me, I prefer to have just a little bit of gravity, and I mean like the absolute little, like 0.005, just to have like that. Right now you can't see it because it's still like having the velocity from normal, so we're going to turn this down to like 0.1, and now you're really gonna see you can see it sort of falls, you know, and like that's kind of how like particles work. I mean, they're not like completely standing still midair, you know. So I prefer if they're just like falling a little bit. I'm just gonna something like that, maybe even lower on the normal, something like that. Okay, right now it's just a particle system. It's not like an actual object. Oh yeah, we have to change the source to volume. We have to change the source from faces to volume, so we get like it in 3-dimensional places, you know. And there you go. You can see it's sort of like having the effect. I'm gonna create a particle real quick. Icosphere is gonna be enough. You know, you can make it smaller, make it shade smooth. Go to rendered view because we kind of want to see this. Okay, it's still being visible for some reason. Okay, it's translucent. It's supposed to be transparent. There you go. Let's focus back on that icosphere. Now we'll make this translucent, you know. Make it slight. I found that making it like dark blue kind of works well. You'll see. Let's re-enable the fog. You can see like that's the effect. That's called icosphere. So now we'll just go to the particle system. Go to render as object, and select the icosphere. And now it'll have like these all those tiny little. We can turn off fog just to see what's going on. Right now it's too small, so you can like change the sky size. I recommend maxing out the scale randomness just to get that randomness and stuff. And yeah, if you scale it right, you start to get this effect. And you know, like the cool thing is like they're all falling and stuff. So in the render, it will actually look pretty good. You can use this like system for like snow too and anything like that. But where's the original icosphere? Let's just bring that out of the scene so it doesn't interfere. But yeah, you know, like that's basically all the steps I said, and we get a pretty decent looking result, you know. It's up to you, just animate it. I really like this effect. It's just been fun to figure out. And yeah, guys, hope you found this helpful, and I'll see you all very soon.